The night was calm. The air was cool, and the small town lay quiet under the silver glow of the moon. He walked alone on the empty road, enjoying the silence. The stars above were brighter than usual, as if the sky was hiding a secret. He did not know that his life was about to change forever. At first, it was just the sound of leaves moving in the forest nearby. He thought it was the wind, but then came the sound of footsteps, sharp, desperate. Someone was running. He stopped and turned his head toward the trees. Then he saw her. A girl jumped out from the shadows of the forest. She was running as if her life depended on it. Her steps were light, almost too light, and she moved faster than any normal human. Her long hair shone faintly, reflecting the moonlight. Her eyes glowed with a strange silver light that did not belong to Earth. She looked scared, more than scared. She looked hunted. Before he could speak, she rushed to him and without a word, hid behind his back. He froze. Her hands were trembling as they clutched his arm tightly. He felt her shaking, her breathing fast, almost broken. What are you doing?" he whispered. Confused, she did not answer. She only pressed closer, trying to make herself smaller. Her eyes kept darting toward the forest as if something terrible was about to appear. Then came the sound, a low humming noise, followed by heavy steps. Shadows moved among the trees. Figures tall, armored, and carrying strange weapons merged slowly. They scanned the ground with glowing red lights. Their movements were precise, cold, and deadly. Hunters, the girl's grip on his arm tightened until it hurt. Her lips parted, and she finally whispered one word, her voice shaking. "Please." That was all. One word, filled with fear and desperation. He felt his heart race. He had no idea who she was or what kind of trouble she carried with her. But in that moment, he understood one thing. She was not safe. And whoever was after her was not human. The hunters stopped near the edge of the forest. Their strange helmets reflected the moonlight. One of them raised a device, scanning the area. A red beam passed close to him, close to her. He felt her body tense, as if she was ready to run again, but she didn't move. She trusted him to shield her. One of the hunters spoke in a language he could not understand. The sound was harsh, metallic, like broken glass. The others spread out, searching. His mind screamed at him to run, to leave this strange girl, to save himself. But his feet stayed rooted. Something in her eyes, those glowing, frightened eyes, made him stay. A hunter stepped closer. His voice was cold, mechanical, but strangely clear. "Human," the hunter said. "Did you see her?" The world seemed to stop. He felt her nails dig into his arm. She was silently begging him. His throat went dry. Every part of him wanted to tell the truth, to shout, "Yes, she's here." But instead, he shook his head. "No," he said softly. "I saw nothing." The hunter tilted his head as if trying to read his face. For a long moment, there was silence. Then the hunter turned away, giving a sharp signal to the others. The group moved deeper into the forest, their red lights glowing like angry eyes in the dark. He let out a shaky breath. The girl finally released his arm, but her eyes still held fear. She whispered again, her voice like broken glass. "They will come back." He stared at her, his mind spinning with questions. Who was she? Why were these creatures after her? And why did she run to him of all people? Before he could ask, she looked straight into his eyes. And for the first time, he noticed the tears there. "If they find me," she said softly, "they will kill us both." His chest tightened. The weight of her words pressed down on him. She was not just some lost traveler. She was something more, something dangerous, something hunted. But there was also something else. Behind her fear, behind her trembling voice, he saw a flicker of hope. She believed he could protect her. He looked back at the forest, where the hunters had disappeared, and then at her. He knew this was not the end. This was only the beginning, and deep inside, he felt that the choice had already been made. "Who are you?" he whispered. The girl looked away, her eyes shining in the moonlight. She did not answer. Not yet, but he knew one thing. Whatever was happening, whatever danger had just entered his life, there was no turning back. The encounter had begun. The night grew colder. The moonlight touched the empty road, but the silence no longer felt safe. He stood still, his heart pounding, while the strange girl hid behind him. Her breathing was fast, broken, as if fear was crushing her chest. The forest was not quiet anymore. Heavy steps echoed through the trees. Branches snapped, leaves cracked under armored boots. Then came the strange humming low, sharp, unnatural. It was not the sound of human machines. It was something alien, something built for the hunt. He swallowed hard. His eyes searched the dark woods. Slowly, figures appeared, one after another. Tall, broad, covered in black armor that shimmered with red lines of light. Their faces were hidden behind helmets shaped like skulls, glowing eyes scanning the ground. Each carried a weapon, long and sharp, humming with deadly energy. Hunters, the girl clutched his arm tighter, her silver eyes wide with terror. He felt her hand trembling, but there was strength hidden in her grip, a silent command. "Don't move." The hunters spread out, moving like predators. One raised a strange device. A red beam swept across the ground, across the trees, and then across him. He froze, his breath caught in his throat. The beam stopped just inches away from the girl. But she pressed herself against his back, hiding perfectly in his shadow. He prayed the beam would not detect her. The hunter clicked the device, then turned toward him. The glowing helmet tilted, studying him as if peeling his skin to see his truth. The voice that came from the hunter was deep, metallic, and sharp. "Human," it said. "Have you seen her?" Every muscle in his body tensed. He could feel the girl pressing harder against him, silently begging him not to betray her. His mind raced. If he lied, they might kill him. If he told the truth, they would take her hand, maybe kill her too. The hunter stepped closer, the weapon in his hand humming louder. Its red glow painted the road in blood-colored light. He forced himself to breathe. Slowly, he shook his head. "No," he said, his voice steady, though his heart raced like a drum. "I haven't seen anyone." Silence. The hunter tilted his head again. For a long, terrifying moment, the only sound was the humming of the weapons. Then the hunter gave a signal with his hand. The others moved past him, scanning the road and the forest further away. The girl's grip loosened just slightly, but she did not let go. The hunter turned back toward the trees. "She is close," the metallic voice growled. "Do not stop until she is found." With that, the group disappeared into the darkness again, their red lights vanishing like angry eyes fading into the forest. The sound of their steps slowly faded, but the echo of fear stayed in the air. He let out the breath he had been holding. His legs felt weak, but he stood tall. Only when the last sound of the hunters was gone did the girl step out from behind him. Her silver eyes shimmered with tears. "You lied for me," she whispered. He turned to her, trying to steady his voice. "Who are they? Why are they after you?" She looked down, her hands clutching her strange clothes. For a moment, it seemed she would not answer. Then she raised her eyes again. "They are not soldiers," she said softly. "They are hunters. They do not stop. Once they are sent, they will follow until the target is caught or dead." Her voice broke on the last word. He shivered. "Why are you the target?" The girl took a step back, her gaze shifting to the forest. For a second, he thought she might run. But then she looked at him again, her voice trembling. "Because I escaped," she said. He frowned. Escaped from what? Her lips parted, but no words came. Instead, she shook her head, as if the truth was too heavy to speak now. But her eyes told him everything. She was carrying something. A secret so dangerous that it brought monsters from the stars to chase her. Across the earth, he realized then that this was no accident. She had not just stumbled into his life by chance. She chose him in that moment when she ran from the forest. She chose him to stand between her and death. He did not know why. He was just an ordinary man. But somehow, she believed he could help her. A cold wind blew, carrying the faint metallic echo of the hunters deeper in the woods. She shivered, her arms wrapping around herself. "They will come back," she said. "They never give up." He looked at her glowing eyes, filled with fear, yet still holding a spark of hope. His chest tightened. He wanted to walk away, to let her problem be her own. But his heart would not let him. He nodded slowly. "Then we better move before they return." Her lips trembled, but she managed a small nod. For the first time, trust flickered in her eyes. Together, they stepped away from the empty road into the shadows of the town, where more danger and more answers were waiting. The hunt had only just begun.
The night stretched long as they moved through the quiet town. Streetlights flickered above, throwing broken shadows on the ground. He led her down narrow alleys, away from the forest, away from the hunters. Each step felt heavy. Each sound behind them made his heart jump. The girl stayed close. She did not speak, only looked over her shoulder again and again as if expecting those glowing red eyes to return at any moment. Her silver eyes shimmered in the dim light, filled with fear but also something deeper, something she had not yet spoken. Finally, when they reached an abandoned warehouse near the edge of town, he stopped. The place was quiet, the air thick with dust, but at least it gave them cover. He turned to face her. "Enough running," he said firmly. "I need answers." "Who are you? What do they want from you?" She looked at him for a long moment. Her lips trembled, as if holding back words too heavy to release. At last she lowered her head. "My name is Elira," she whispered. The sound of her name was soft, almost musical, but carried sorrow. "I am not from your world." His chest tightened, even though he already knew it. Her eyes, her speed, her fear, it was all too strange for Earth. But hearing her say it made it real. He stayed quiet, waiting. Elira's hands shook as she reached into the folds of her clothing. From within, she pulled out a small object, a crystal, glowing faintly blue. It pulsed like a living heart, sending soft waves of light across her pale hands. "They are after this," she said, her voice breaking. He leaned closer, staring at it. "What is it?" "It is truth," she whispered. "Proof of what they have done." Her eyes lifted, and for the first time he saw not only fear but pain, deep pain that came from memory. "They destroyed my home. My people lived under the open sky, with rivers of silver water and forests that sang in the wind. But the Empire came. They took everything. They turned our world into fire and ash. Many were killed, the rest, chained, forced to serve. I escaped only because I was given this." Her fingers curled around the crystal. "This holds the evidence of their crimes, records, images, the truth they fear. If I can deliver it to the Alliance, my people may be freed. But if the hunters catch me first..." She stopped, her voice cracking. He felt his breath catch. This was no small matter. She was not just running for herself, she was running for an entire world. "And you?" he asked softly. "Why me? Why hide behind me?" Her eyes glistened. "Because you didn't run. You didn't turn away. When I saw you on the road, I felt hope, and hope is rare when you are hunted." He looked away, his chest heavy. He was no soldier, no hero. He was just a man who happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. Yet somehow she believed in him. Silence filled the warehouse. The hum of the crystal was the only sound. Then suddenly a faint thud echoed outside. Both of them froze. The hunters. Elira quickly pressed the crystal back into her clothes. Her voice turned sharp, filled with urgency. "They are close. They will not stop. We must move." He nodded, though his legs felt weak. He could almost hear his own heartbeat louder than their footsteps. But before they left, she placed her hand on his arm. Her touch was cold but steady. "If they catch me," she said, her voice low, "they will kill us both. You still have a choice. You can walk away, forget me. Stay safe." Her words hit him like a blade. He stared at her. She was giving him a way out. She was telling him to save himself, but deep down he already knew his answer. He had seen the tears in her eyes, the pain of her lost home, the weight she carried. He could not turn away, not anymore. "No," he said firmly. "I'm already part of this. If you're running, I'll run with you. If they're hunting you, then they're hunting me too." For the first time, a faint smile touched her lips, though it was heavy with sorrow. "Then you are braver than most," she whispered. Another thud outside, louder this time. The hunters were closing in. He tightened his fists. Whatever happened next, he knew the truth now. Elira was not just an alien girl hiding from monsters. She was a survivor carrying the hope of her people. And by protecting her, he was stepping into a war far greater than anything he had ever imagined. The shadows outside grew darker. The hunt was not over. It was only beginning. The warehouse was no longer safe. The sound of boots outside grew louder, echoing through the walls like a drum of doom. He glanced at Elira. Her silver eyes burned with fear, but her body was steady now. She knew what was coming. "They are near," she whispered. "If we stay, they will trap us," he nodded. He could not fight these hunters, not with their weapons and armor. The only chance was to move fast. He pushed open a side door, and together they slipped into the dark streets. The town was silent, but not peaceful. Every shadow felt alive, every corner seemed to hide an enemy. Elira stayed close to him, her steps soft, almost soundless. She moved like someone who had lived her whole life running. They passed broken streetlights and empty houses. The night air was sharp, but it carried a strange scent like burnt metal. The hunters were near. He could feel it. "Where do we go?" he asked. "There is a river at the edge of your town," she replied. "If we follow it, we may lose their trail. Water hides our scent." Her words made sense, but he still could not stop the question rising inside him. "Why trust me? You don't even know me." Elira glanced at him. Her eyes softened. "Because you stood between me and death. That is more than most would do." He swallowed. The weight of her trust pressed against him like armor he did not ask for. Still, he kept moving, guiding her through the narrow alleys. As they walked, she spoke again, her voice low, almost fragile. "My people, we were once free. Children played under two suns. Our skies glowed with silver storms, and our seas sang with light. But then the Empire came. They burned our skies. They chained our children. Hope was broken. Many forgot how to dream." Her voice cracked, and she stopped walking for a moment. He looked at her face and saw more than fear. He saw grief, deep and raw. "And you?" he asked gently. "I was only a child when they took everything," she whispered. "My parents, they are gone, my world. It is not the same anymore. That is why I must carry this truth. If I fall, then no one will know, and my people will remain slaves forever." She touched the spot where the glowing crystal was hidden, close to her heart. His chest tightened. He did not know her world, her people, or her pain, but in her voice he felt the truth. This was not just her fight. It was bigger, far bigger than him, far bigger than this small town. They reached the riverbank at last. The water flowed quietly, silver under the moonlight. He knelt and dipped his hand into the cold current. Behind him, Elira stood still, her eyes scanning the darkness. "They are close again," she said softly. "How do you know?" She closed her eyes for a moment. "I can feel them. They're machines. They spread waves through the air. My body can sense it." He stared at her. She was more than just human-shaped. She was something beyond Earth, carrying gifts he could not understand. Before he could speak, the silence of the night broke. A sudden clang of metal echoed from the trees behind them. Red lights flashed, glowing through the branches. "The hunters, run!" he shouted. They dashed along the riverbank, the sound of their feet splashing against the wet ground. Behind them, heavy steps crashed closer and closer. Red beams swept across the night, hunting them like wild beasts. His lungs burned, but he kept running. Elira stayed beside him, faster, lighter. At one point, he stumbled over a rock, almost falling. But before he hit the ground, she caught his arm with surprising strength and pulled him up. "Don't stop," she urged. Her voice gave him new strength. Together, they pushed forward. After what felt like forever, they reached a small stone bridge. They slid under it, hiding in the shadows as the hunters' lights passed above. Both pressed against the cold wall, breathing hard, their bodies close in the dark. For a long moment, neither spoke. Only the sound of rushing water filled the silence. Then she whispered, her voice shaking but soft. "You are different." He turned his head toward her. "Different how?" "You are afraid, but you still choose to help me. Fear did not control you. That is rare." Her words sank into him like fire. He wanted to answer, but all he could do was stare at her glowing eyes, shining even in the dark. The hunter's footsteps faded slowly into the distance. The danger was not gone, but for now they were safe. Elira leaned back against the stone, closing her eyes. "I never thought I would trust someone from this world, but I do." He looked at her, and in that moment he understood. This was no longer about chance. It was about choice. He had chosen to stand with her, and she had chosen to trust him. The bond was real. The bond was strong, but outside in the forest and the night the hunters still searched. And they would not stop. Their bond would be tested soon, very soon. The night no longer belonged to silence. It belonged to footsteps, shouts, and the heavy hum of alien machines. The hunters were everywhere now. Their glowing red beams cut through the forest like blades of fire, searching, scanning, closing in. Under the old stone bridge, he and Elira pressed against the wall. The water rushed past their feet, cold and fast. He tried to steady his breath, but his chest burned. Elira leaned close, her glowing eyes sharp in the dark. "They are too many," she whispered. "We cannot hide forever," he nodded. She was right. Already the sound of metal boots echoed closer, shaking the bridge above them. Then a harsh voice rang out, deep and metallic. "Spread out, find her. Alive if possible, dead if not." Elira's body stiffened at the words. She reached for his hand without thinking. Her cold fingers wrapped around his trembling ones. "Run with me," she said, her voice both command and plea. He nodded again. His legs felt weak, but his will was strong. Together they bolted from under the bridge and into the open. At once, red beams snapped toward them. Shouts followed. "There!" The chase began. They raced across the riverbank, their feet splashing mud and water. Behind them, hunters moved like shadows, fast and merciless. Strange weapons lit the night with sparks of red fire, striking the ground where they had been only seconds before. "Left," Elira shouted. He followed her into the trees. Branches whipped his face, roots tangled his shoes, but he kept running. The forest was alive with sound now. Crashing footsteps, buzzing machines, the hunter's growls. One beam shot past his head, burning a tree trunk into glowing ash. He stumbled, fear freezing his body for a moment, but Elira grabbed his arm again and pulled him forward with inhuman strength. "Don't stop," she cried. "If you stop, we die." Her words cut through his panic. He forced his legs to move, forced his breath to keep up. The forest thinned, opening into a rocky hill. They scrambled up, the stones sharp under their hands. Behind them, the hunters climbed too, their armored bodies faster than he thought possible. One hunter leaped close, its weapon raised. For a moment, the end seemed near. Then Elira turned, her silver eyes flashing. She lifted her hand, and for the first time he saw her power. A wave of light burst from her palm, blue, sharp, like lightning wrapped in water. It struck the hunter full force, throwing him back into the trees with a crash. The forest lit up, blue against red. He gasped. What was that?" Elira's chest heaved. "A gift from my people. But it drains me. I cannot use it often." She staggered for a moment, weak from the blast. Without thinking, he caught her, steadying her weight. Their eyes met, and for a heartbeat, the world slowed. Then another red beam tore past, and the chase began again. They crested the hill and slid down the other side, tumbling into tall grass. The hunters were still close, their lights cutting through the blades like burning eyes. "Keep low," she whispered. They crawled, moving silently now, the grass hiding them from sight. He could feel his heart hammering in his chest, so loud he feared the hunters would hear it. One passed close, its heavy boots inches away. He held his breath, sweat running down his face. Elira's hand squeezed his tightly. The hunter paused, scanning. The red beam moved across the grass closer, then turned away. The moment it left, Elira pulled him up and they sprinted again, running until the sound of hunters grew faint behind them. At last, they collapsed behind a crumbling stone wall on the far edge of the town. His lungs burned, his legs felt like fire, but they were still alive. He leaned back against the wall, gasping. We lost them?" Elira shook her head, her silver eyes still wide. "No, we only escaped for now. They will never stop. Not until I am captured. Not until I am dead. Her words hung heavy in the night air. He looked at her, seeing the exhaustion on her face, the sorrow in her eyes, and yet the strength that still burned within her. Despite the danger, despite the fear, she had not given up, and now neither could he. "We'll find a way," he said firmly. "We'll get through this." She looked at him for a long moment, then gave a small, tired smile. "You believe that?" she whispered. "And maybe that is enough." The night was not quiet anymore, but in the silence between their breaths a bond of hope grew stronger. The chase was not over. It was only the beginning of something far greater. The night stretched on, heavy with silence after the chase. He and Elira crouched behind the broken stone wall, their breaths uneven, their bodies trembling with exhaustion. The hunters' lights no longer glowed nearby, but their presence still lingered in the air, like the shadow of a storm. For a long while, neither spoke. He closed his eyes, letting the cool night air fill his lungs. Then finally he turned to her. "Elira," he said softly, "I've run with you, I've lied for you, I've risked my life for you. But now I need the whole truth. What is this crystal you carry? Why is it worth your life?" She looked at him, her silver eyes glistening in the moonlight. At first she said nothing. Her lips parted, closed again, as though the words themselves carried too much weight. But then she reached slowly into her clothes and pulled it out. The glowing blue crystal, pulsing softly like a living heart. She held it between them, her hands trembling. "This," she whispered, "is the reason they hunt me. This is the reason my people bleed." The light from the crystal painted her face, and for the first time he saw the sorrow carved deep in her features. "My world was once a place of beauty," she began. 2 suns rose every morning. Seas shimmered like glass. The air was filled with songs from creatures you cannot imagine. My people lived free, proud, and at peace. Her voice faltered, and she drew a shaky breath. Then the Empire came. They arrived with their ships, with their fire. They promised protection, trade, friendship, but it was all lies. Slowly they tightened their grip. Villages vanished. Families were taken. Children were turned into soldiers. Factories rose where forests once stood. And the skies, our silver skies, turned black with smoke. Tears slipped from her eyes, though her voice did not break. They called it order. We called it chains. He listened, his chest heavy. He could see her memories in her eyes. Flames, screams, shadows swallowing her world. "The crystal holds their secrets," Elira continued. "Records of what they have done. Evidence of their crimes. Images of the broken cities, the dead skies, the stolen children. If I deliver this to the Galactic Alliance, the Empire will be exposed. They will no longer be able to hide behind lies. My people might finally be free." Her voice cracked at last, and she pressed the crystal against her chest as if it were her last piece of hope. He felt a chill run through him. The hunters were not chasing her for survival. They were chasing her to silence the truth, to bury an entire world suffering in darkness. "And if they catch you?" he asked quietly. Elira's eyes darkened. "Then all hope dies. My people will remain slaves, perhaps forever. No one will believe the stories without proof, and She lowered her head. "I will be erased." Her words burned into him. She was not just a girl on the run. She was the last chance for her people's freedom. For a long moment, silence lay between them. The crystal's glow flickered gently, almost like it was breathing with them. He finally spoke, his voice firm. "Then we can't let them catch you. We get this crystal to the beacon. We send the truth." She lifted her eyes wide with surprise. "You would risk everything. For me? For my people?" He nodded. "Because if I walk away, I'll never forget your eyes. I'll never forget what I know now. You said your people forgot how to dream. Maybe this is my chance to help them dream again." For the first time, a real smile touched her lips. It was small, fragile, but filled with light. "You are not like them," she whispered. "You are not like the Empire. You are kind." He looked away, embarrassed, but his heart felt warm despite the danger. Then the moment broke. From far in the distance came the sound of engines, deep, metallic, growing louder. The hunters were moving again. Their search was not over. Elira clutched the crystal tightly. "We must reach the beacon before dawn. Once the sun rises, its signal can pierce the sky. That is our only chance." He rose to his feet, his body still aching but his will stronger than before. "Then we move now." Elira stood beside him, her face lit by the blue glow of the crystal. For the first time her fear seemed lighter, carried not by her alone but by both of them. The night ahead was dark and the hunters were close, but the mission was clear now. This was no longer just her fight. It was theirs. Together they stepped into the shadows once more. The truth had to survive. The night was nearly gone. A faint line of silver light touched the horizon, whispering of dawn. He and Elira moved quickly across the empty fields, their bodies weak, but their hearts steady. The beacon was close now, her only chance to send the truth across the stars. Every step felt like a race against time. Behind them, the sound of engines grew louder. The hunters had found their trail again. "There," Elira said, pointing ahead. On a hill stood a broken tower, a relic of Earth's past. At the top, hidden by the ruins, was the beacon. A device left behind long ago, forgotten by humans but still able to reach the skies. If she connected the crystal, the message would travel far beyond worlds. They began the climb, their feet heavy, their lungs burning. He could almost feel the sunrise on his skin, but also the danger pressing closer. Halfway up, the hunters appeared. Dark armored figures spilled into the field, red beams cutting through the air. "There is no escape," one shouted, its voice metallic and final. Weapons fired. Bolts of red light struck the stones around them, sending sparks into the air. He grabbed Elira's hand, pulling her forward, running even as the world exploded around them. At last, they reached the top of the tower. The beacon stood silent, its surface cracked but not dead. Elira rushed to it, pulling the crystal from her clothes. "Keep them back," she cried. He turned. The hunters were already climbing. Their weapons glowed, their eyes burned. He grabbed a fallen iron bar from the floor, the only weapon he could find. His hands shook, but his heart was steady. The first hunter reached the top. It swung its weapon at him, but he ducked and swung the bar with all his strength. The sound rang like thunder as the hunter stumbled back. Another came. He fought, blocking, dodging, striking, though each blow sent pain through his arms. He was only human, but he refused to step aside. Behind him, Elira connected the crystal to the beacon. The beacon groaned, then came alive with a hum of ancient power. Blue light rose from it, spiraling upward into the sky. The crystal pulsed brighter, feeding the signal. "It's working," Elira shouted, but the hunters grew desperate. One rushed past him, lunging for Elira. Without thinking, he threw himself in the way. The weapon struck his side. Pain exploded through him like fire. He fell to his knees, breath stolen, vision blurred. Elira screamed. Her silver eyes filled with tears as she caught him, holding him up. "No, stay with me." He tried to speak, his voice weak. "Finish it. Send the truth." She shook her head, tears falling fast. "Not without you. Please, not without you." The hunters advanced again, but then the beacon roared. A beam of light shot into the sky, piercing the dawn. It was bright, pure, unstoppable. The signal had been sent. The truth was free. The hunters froze, their helmets turning toward the light. They knew they had failed. Slowly they began to retreat, vanishing back into the shadows from where they came. Elira held him close, her body trembling. "You saved me," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You saved us all." He coughed, pain filling his chest, but managed a faint smile. "No, you saved them. I just stood by you." Her tears fell onto his face like rain. "I will never forget you. Not in this life, not in any other." The blue glow of the beacon wrapped around them both. The world felt quiet now. The danger gone, but the weight of sacrifice heavy in the air. His eyes grew heavy. The pain was deep, but in his heart there was peace. He had made his choice, and it was the right one. "You were worth it," he whispered softly, his voice fading. Elira held him tighter, her tears shining in the morning light. "Rest, brave one. Your name will live among the stars." The sun rose golden and bright, spreading across the fields. The beacon's light stretched into the heavens, carrying with it the truth, carrying with it the hope of a broken people. And though one life was ending, 1,000 lives across the galaxy were given a chance to begin again. The story of a hunted alien girl and the human who stood beside her would never be forgotten.